to Volya Radio. Slava Ukraini!
Morning, Marcus. Morning, Firefella.
Morning.
Morning. Just be warned, Blackie's having a cranky morning. Don't know why.
Alrighty. Get that animal in a better mood.
Oh, he's been
All
fed twice.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're having a good day. And we're going to go ahead and do a timestamp here. And not going to be as kinky as last time, just saying. Because I'm not going to pull out that list. Anyway, it is currently 7:00. It is Tuesday, August 4th, in most of the world, but not all of the world. So we're going to check out what time it is where. In Cockbridge in the UK, it is 7:01 a.m. In Aspudding in Sweden, it is 8:01 a.m. My new favorite location. At the pirate ship in Ukraine, it is currently 9:01 a.m. In the workers' paradise of Cockman Bluff, Australia, it is 2:01 p.m. At the vending machines at the Kinky University in the Osaka, Japan area, where maybe they have sake at least, but someone swears they don't have crickets in Japan on the vending machines when I know they do. It's 3:02 there. It is 3:32 in Cockwash Creek, Australia, and in Jackass Flat. Does that refer to somebody's body part? Is their body part Jackass Flat, or I don't know. Anyway, there was some place I was going to go with that. Anyway, it's 4:02 there in Australia. And in Blow Me Down, Newfoundland, it is 3:32 a.m. And in St. Louis de Haha, because I like saying it, it is 2:02 a.m. and that is in Quebec. And then in Uranus Fudge Factory, at the Uranus Fudge Factory in St. Robert, Missouri, it is 1:02 a.m. And in Beaver Creek, Colorado, it is 12:03 a.m. In the second smoggiest place in the world, I think I heard, which I really find that hard to believe. Oh, wait, no. We were among the top 10 worst in air quality for Monday. It is 11:03 p.m. here in Portland, Oregon. And that's all due to forest fires. And in Unalaska, Alaska, the most Alaska place you could ever imagine is Unalaska, Alaska. It is 10:03 p.m. Alaska, where Sarah Palin could see Russia from her house. She quit stalking me. And thank you to the listener who sent me the adorable picture of a fox and an eagle sitting on a picnic table in Unalaska, Alaska. One of the most un-Alaskan things you would ever imagine seeing. So, Mockers, Firefell, I hope you're doing well. I shall stuff your nest.
I thank you. Well, you might be having cat troubles this morning, Firefella, but I had cat troubles last night, and I'll just tell you all while the room's filling up. I was just about to go to bed, and I literally got me drink, because you have to have a little drink if you wake up in the night. Took my tablet, and checked everything, turned the light out, and Irina comes running in the bedroom and jumps on the bed next to me, and I go to stroke her on the head, and my hand's wet. And I thought, it's not raining. Where you been? And I thought, that was weird. So I thought, maybe I'll just dry her head, right? So I thought, I'd better turn the light on again. Turn the light on, my hand is bright red. She's got a cut on her ear. Now, I don't know if anybody knows, but if you've had children and they cut themselves on the head, it looks like they're going to die. because a little tiny cut on the head bleeds like crazy. So this cut on the ear was bleeding profusely. Her entire head was covered in like a little cap of red, which I had to wash off. But I went out into the hallway to go and get like some first aid stuff and a cloth. And the hallway looked like somebody had been murdered in it.
Yeah, it's a bloodbath, isn't it? Yeah. A scene from I don't know what.
Yeah, so the entire hallway was covered in little red droplets of blood, some bigger than others. The carpet in the front room, she got that by shaking her head. She got 3 doorways, the radiator, a towel that was on the radiator, and the carpet that's in the bedroom. She dripped on that on her way in as well. And I was like, oh my God, massacre. She's got more than one cut. I tell you what, right? I grabbed her, I inspected every flipping inch of her. I washed off her head to find a tiny little 1/2 centimetre cut on her ear. And that was it. All that drama, that tiny little cut. So then I spent the next hour cleaning. So I didn't get to bed on time last night.
There you go. You see the drama of having a cat. Now, if you look in the first thing in the nest, that'll sort all your problems. From David Evans. Funny as you like. Have a look, people. It's what the UK's come to.
Hey, we live in our bin face. I honestly think that we should actually vote for him, and get him in because he is actually a very savvy political commentator. So he would do a
Oh
better
yeah.
job.
People make the mistake that he's an idiot. No, the man's got a degree, quite a good one as well. So at your peril, you take him to be an idiot. Yeah. Don't judge the cover.
Don't judge the bin, indeed. So there you go. It's just a little tale out of my life of the flipping what the cats do to me. Honestly, thought she was dying for about 10 minutes until I finally discovered that it was just one tiny little cut. Little messer, honestly. So God knows what she'd been up to, but somebody had given her a little ding on the ear. So I'm going to crash. Pretty sure I'm going to crash. Have I crashed yet?
You haven't. No, you're still with us. Keep going. So I tell you what is not good for your health. Sunbathing on the beach at the moment, Mockers. What's all that about? Now you've crashed. Now I can't hear you. Prince, is she with us? Or is it me?
Is
Can
she
anyone
ever
hear me?
truly with us? That is a
Uh,
question.
no.
No,
The
I don't.
answer to which is not.
I do not think that she is with us, and I will boot her out of that chair here in just a moment. Yes, and she did, of course, crash as she sent me a message, and pretty soon she's gonna say, "Boot my ghost," and I'm gonna say, "I'm in the middle of doing that." Oh, come on.
This
Here
app
we
has
go.
been rather jerky, even for me this morning. So I don't know. She's going to have problems, isn't she? Anyway, if you're Russian, you can't be sunbathing on the beach, which is a shame for them, isn't it? Bless. 7 of them died yesterday sunbathing on the beach whilst their air defence shot down a Ukrainian drone. And they don't care about their people, do they? They're Russians. They don't. They don't care about anything apart from propaganda. And wildberries are getting visited again this morning, which we might talk about later. Marcus, are you back yet? I can't see you.
Oh no, she's not back. Do you think we should let her come back? Because
Oh,
I
don't be starting those sorts of wars, mate. My ears are, yeah. I'd like my ears the way they are on the sides of my head. So yeah,
Oh no,
there's nothing.
I accidentally threw her out of the space so that she can't join again. So yeah, I fixed that now.
That's on you. Oh, and by the way, I think standards are slipping around here. We only get a 9-minute warning in the morning now.
Yeah,
Place
because
is going,
I missed the 10.
place is going to rack and ruin, Prince. What's going on?
I know.
All right. Um, anyway, Wildberries is getting a visiting Krasny Bor in Leningrad region this morning, which was only completed in March. What a shame! And it's oh god, yes, oh that's bad. So I only saw the initial hits to start with. Doesn't take long for a decent fire in those places to get going, does it? less than half an hour, and the place is well alight, and I mean end to end. I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. Pyrotechnic's dream. Here she is, approved. Ockers, welcome back. Are you back, Speed?
Yeah, I am now. I've got some things to comment on.
Go on, then.
So, you started off by talking about the Ukrainian drone that was headed towards a military target in Helenjik, something like that.
Aye.
Begins with a G, yeah. And so the Russians shot it down and it landed on the beach. But there was another one that did reach its target, and the Russians claimed that that target was a non-military target. Yeah. So
Yeah,
they say,
as they would, but it's not. It'll be a military target.
yeah, they said it was a civilian facility. However, it is the Rasvet holiday resort with an exclusive area for bosses of a company called NPO Machino Strony, which is based in the Moscow region. The company is a state-owned defense firm which designs and develops missiles. And there was some hobnobs from the company at that location. So I think you'll find that that was indeed a military target. And I just wanted to point that out. And then you'd moved on to the Wildberries, the new one. Is that right?
Aye, in Leningrad region, yeah, the new one, finished in 2026, and is now well alight end to end.
So this is in Krasny Bor. Is that the one?
Aye.
Aye. Right. So after a Ukrainian attack this morning, yes, you're absolutely right. Krasny Bor. If anybody needed to, toast some marshmallows, that's probably the place to go. So there's definitely another Wildberries on fire. But let's just have a little look at what this is doing. So 70% of Wildberries hubs over 15 kilometres. Kilometres, that's a big one. Over 15,000 metres squared, that's the one, have been damaged or destroyed. And they are, well, they're in hock with the bank, VTB Bank, to be exact. So what this is going to become is not just a destruction of their company, it's going to become a systematic bank issue very quickly due to a 1.3 trillion ruble debt that Wildberries currently have. So, long story short, these strikes are basically damaging the banking system. They're already forcing VTB Bank to bail them out as they're a major stakeholder, which means rolling that printing press. That's right, printing money due to an extremely restricted access to foreign borrowing, which is also damaging to the tax base, which is crucial for raising their VAT strategy of balancing the federal budget. In other words, their economic impact and long-term significance is massively important. There are, other implications that are forcing a banking crisis, but this is, this is one way to really put some pressure on it. Somebody's just said here, the Robert Mugabe School of Economics method. I'm sure that won't have any terrible consequences. And, this is exactly their problem, that they are using a banking method which is guaranteed to fail. They've been doing this through central repo, which is why their central bank can't get inflation under control. But to bail out Wildberries, that already owes them 1.3 trillion, they're going to need another, half a trillion, which is insane considering their current budget deficit. And even their own analysts say that they're going to have a massive banking crisis by the end of this year because of the additional money issuances and the growing percentage of bad loans. And yet they just can't stop printing money, because if they do, they're even further broken. So, it's a mess. It's a terrible mess. Now, here's something else which I thought was quite fun by a fella. Ozone, that company. On August
Yep.
the 3rd. Go on.
No, just putting it out there. Ozone, you're next.
Oh, they absolutely are. I'm sure of it. Magyar's pretty much said so. It's absolutely throwing it down here now. Just in case you needed a weather report.
Thank you for that. Full sunshine down here. Full on. It's currently 22 degrees.
Well, I'm kind of glad of the rain, to be honest, because it's been nothing but sunshine for like 2 weeks and it's just been a bit much for me.
Right.
Because, I'm British and I have to complain. So, August the 3rd, Russian marketplace Ozone now no longer considers Crimea part of the Russian Federation.
Get in.
One lady shared a screenshot of her correspondence with Ozone in which the company's support bot states that they will not deliver goods to Sevastopol as it is a location outside of Russia. She says, "Why can I not order goods to Sevastopol?" And the bot answers, "Ozone does not deliver goods to Sevastopol. Delivery outside Russia is only available to the following countries: Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan. When placing an order, the system automatically checks whether delivery is available to your region. And if an item cannot be delivered to your country, this will be indicated during checkout." So, Sevastopol is outside of Russia. Did you know? Yes, it absolutely is. Yes, it absolutely is.
For those that know, it always has been.
Yes, and perhaps soon any place outside of Moscow will also be considered outside of Russia, eh? So, there are some more booms. Fella. One of which happened yesterday, and there's a big old whine about this going on, that this is a Turkish vessel, but this is a perhaps Turkish flagged vessel, which is slightly different. So it's a Russian roll-on, roll-off vehicle carrier. And you know what happened to all the other ones of those that were servicing Crimea? They all got twatted, didn't they? And so did this one now. And this is what was on fire outside the bay of Novorossiysk. So it's called the Nadezhda or Nadezhda, something like that. And severely damaged. Big old fire in the control room there. And well, there was guys on board saying, "Oh, my charge is running out, but here's a video. We're just waiting for people to come and rescue us now. But there's a couple of wounded. And so he said, there's nobody come at the moment, so we're just waiting." And he's just stood there on the deck of this boat while the entire bridge burns. Now, the vessel was likely struck, it says, sometime this afternoon, but of course that was yesterday. And I would say quite early on, because we saw it at like about 11 a.m. It started first being reported, so it wasn't the afternoon at all, it was the morning. Keep up, OSINT guys. So it belonged to a company, Fesco Yanina, which is a Russian company. But the amount of people that are saying it's a Turkish ship, it is not a Turkish ship. It may have been flying under a Turkish flag. And that's where the confusion is coming from, that people don't understand how flagging of ships works. So it says here, they also think that it sank in the Novorossiysk port. Now, it says here, this would be a total loss even if it hasn't sunk. Fire damage on these ro-ro carriers is nearly always fatal. And somebody else answered, "Are they trying to put Crimea under siege? Where have you been? Hello, where have you been?" So that's fun. Now they're trying to say that it was a Turkish ship carrying fruits and vegetables to Novorossiysk, which is bullshit, by the way. It's a vehicle carrier. It doesn't carry fruits and vegetables. So there's your latest bullshit for that. Now, in Chekhov, in Moscow Oblast, there's something happening. And I'm trying to figure out what it is. So in Chekhov, there was an attack of some kind. And, well, we can definitely see drones flying through the air there. This is the Moscow Oblast, but I mean, it's on the outskirts. And there is something on fire. I don't exactly know what yet. So there was a lot of effing and jeffing on this video, something happening. And, well, I'm sure we'll get a bit more information later. But there was a very interesting event in Moscow last night. Now, I don't know if this was just a drill or whether somebody actually pooped their pants and was concerned that there was something really big heading for Moscow. Now, I'll just say you might be a day early because today is day 40 of the 40-day campaign, by the way. But Russian media reported an urgent evacuation of all towers of Moscow City, which is about 20 skyscrapers. Elevators in the complex were turned off and people were evacuated en masse, with the reason for the evacuation not being reported. Now, like I say, it could have been a drill, but I don't know. Now, Putin's FSB bombed their own apartment blocks, if you remember, once, some time ago. It's something to do with the sugar. Yeah, anyway. That was a prelude for the Chechen invasion and his ascendancy to presidential power. So, you know, I just wonder what that's up to. Now, I just wonder if there was some Ryazan sugar, that's what they called it, yes. Bags of sugar, indeed. I just wonder if there was something going on. Now, official updates later attributed the incident to a false fire alarm in one Federation tower, figured by construction dust. Now, I wonder if what happened was there was a false alarm and panic spread and everybody was like, shit, we better get out of all the towers. I have a funny feeling that is probably what happened. That there was an alarm in one of the towers and everybody suddenly said, you know, oh shit, something's happening. And this is the thing. When you're at war, you know, every little thing could be a bigger threat than you think. So you have to be really careful. And this is the sort of thing that will happen when people panic. So I found that interesting. More of that, more Russian panic. Now, also, occupied Berdyansk appears to have been cooking overnight. That what I can see from this, what I'm looking at here is something cooking. I don't know exactly what it was, but it's certainly on fire. And then occupied parts of Kherson and Zaporizhia had a complete blackout following a massive attack by strike drones. So the grid got a surprise visit over there as well. So there's well, just booms aplenty, and Ukraine's not just like settling for one location now, are they? A refinery is also burning in Surzan. Its annual processing volume reaches 7 to 8.9 million tons of product, but not today. So that, I think, gives us a roundup of the main booms. Sorry, there was just thunder then. I was like, ooh. It distracted me ever so slightly. So there's your main booms. And I'm just trying to check to see if there's any further information, but no, I think that's as good as we've got for the minute. So we'll have to just forge ahead and wait for more information to come out. Now, would you like me to give you a little what we call it, addressing the elephant in the room? Would you like to address the elephant in the room?
Go on in. What's today's elephant in the room? Because there's been quite a few recently.
Well, yesterday again, Zelensky offered a ceasefire to Russia, and we all know that a ceasefire would really only benefit Russia at this time. However, he knows Russia's not going to accept a ceasefire. You know, he knows for a fact, but this is a means to an end. Shall we put it this way? So what's going on? Why is he offering them a ceasefire? Putin cannot accept a ceasefire. If he stops the war, that will be the end of him. Full stop. He might agree it on paper, but he still won't stop. He values his life and the life of his children and nothing else. So, more importantly, Ukraine cannot stop because it's their land and their people. And even if they were, I don't know, forced into some sort of, you can't take any more military action, the military would just change into civilian clothing and continue because they're
Ockers.
fighting for their very existence. Yes?
Could you just give the terms of the ceasefire that he offered? Because I know it's important.
Well, it was the air and the sea, wasn't it?
Didn't he say on the current lines, contact line?
Yeah, he did suggest something about the current contact lines, but it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. It's not important because he knows that they will not, absolutely will not accept it, right? So it's calling for a ceasefire is actually not what you think it is. This is actually a warning, and it's a final warning to the Russians. This 40-day period is about to end, and after that, all bets are off. If you don't accept this ceasefire, here's your final warning. So, even if there was an agreement to a temporary ceasefire to buy time for Russia to mobilize, it would also buy time for Ukraine, which they can't afford. And it said, Anna Odessa here is saying, we would use that time a lot more wisely than they would, which is true. But there is no future in which Putin would agree to an actual ceasefire. So why is Zelensky proposing this, knowing it's nonsense? It serves several functions. Ukraine will have an absolutely fucking horrendous winter without air defense. They will survive, but genocidal Russia will put many people in graves. They will count on civilians freezing. And this is unacceptable to Ukraine. So this is an absolute last warning to the Russians. If you do not stop, it is your choice. It also signals to everybody else watching as well, this is definitely Russia's choice because, Ukraine keeps putting out this hand of, ceasefire, and they keep slapping it away. Oop, no, we don't want that. So it's the Berlin option. Ukraine's been building missiles for how long now? And not using them, hardly at all. They have capabilities. And he's basically saying, if we freeze over the winter, so will you. And here's the thing about Ukrainian society. Ukrainian society will do what they can to help one another. And they've got friends who will also do things to help them. Russian society will fall into a violent chaos, which, it already is sort of kind of there. It also serves the purpose of giving all the onlookers, including Trump, a toy to play with, a way to stay out of Ukrainian affairs. Ukraine have made the offer. So putting pressure on Ukraine right now is, well, it would be obviously stupid. It doesn't achieve anything because they've already said, yeah, here's your ceasefire offer. Yeah, here we are. We're at the table already. Where are you? Ultimately, no matter what Ukraine does, Russia will not change until they collapse. It has taken them many, many bad decisions to set this course, and it will take at least 30 years to repair the damage that each decision has caused. But what Zelensky is doing here serves the function of attempting to save more Ukrainian lives and warn the Russian population that if they don't stop, what Ukraine can do to them next will be an absolute nightmare. And I agree with this. I said this, that these 40 days are coming to an end, and this is a statement rather than a, actual offer, because he knows for a fact that Putin is not going to accept any sort of ceasefire proposal, because he can't, because he's not in a position to, because he will be eaten alive by his own compatriots for weakness. And so he absolutely can't. But it's also a message to anybody else listening. Don't look at us. We would love some peace. We would absolutely love it if we didn't have to, keep picking up the pieces every damn morning and counting the dead every day. That would be great. But here's our final offer, because come winter, you will suffer just as much as us, if not more. And so that's what that's all about, Firefella. It's not really an offer of a ceasefire. It's a warning of what's to come when the ceasefire doesn't happen.
Right, Ockers. Well, I was looking at it from the political point of view. So we're saying to Russia, yeah, you can have your contact line, we'll do all that. And then turning around to every other, especially the Trump man dingo, and going, look, they don't really want it. But they've done that loads of times. So actually, good thinking on your part. But just making the point again, didn't they ask Europe to shut the skies as well? We're not going to, but he asked.
Yeah, he asked. Yeah, he knows that's not going to happen either. I mean, come on, he's not daft.
No.
But yeah, he asked.
And I think we should. I think we should all write to our governments and say, no, give the man what he wants. Shut the bleeding skies.
Yeah, I do too. I note that Turkey sent some aircraft, F-16s, I think, to protect Latvian airspace. Yeah.
Five F-16s to Estonia to cover the northern flank. Don't know why they had to do that.
Well, Estonia doesn't have a huge air force or anything like that. They don't have anything to sort of really protect them. Remember when Estonia was going to take that Russian ship, or at least board it, and they were being harassed by Russian aircraft, and they said we've got no counter to that, and so that's why they do not really have much of an air force that they can counter the Russian air force with. So they do need their buddies to come along and be a bit of muscle. Jenny's going to come up and explain it properly. Go ahead, Jenny.
This is part of NATO, and because the Baltic states have very small armies and they don't have any fast jets, then it's up to the rest of NATO as part of the contract to actually patrol their skies. Sweden does it, Finland does it, and then you have a rotational force that is actually on the ground in those countries. So it's not a question of, oh, we're so worried about Latvia or whichever of those three countries. This is part of the contract. And we have Swedish soldiers in Estonia ready to help. And this is again because they don't have much, any of those three. So it's different than from Ukraine. And by the way, I think that we should close the sky over Ukraine, all of, oh, all over it, not just the western part. I also have the unpopular opinion that I think that we should have troops guarding the border with Belarus so that no more fuckery comes from that direction. And that would also free up Ukrainian soldiers to go and fight the actual Russians, not the paid to pretend to be Russians, because those are things that are unpopular that I would like to see. But again, I'm not in charge of anything. I'm barely in charge of my own life, so so it's not going to happen. Nobody takes my advice. But yeah, it's part of the NATO contract, kind of like how the US has um, bases here in Europe. It's a similar thing, but in a different. Anyways, fuck Russia and thank you.
Yeah, fuck Russia. And Jenny, I'm disappointed. I thought you were in charge of gripping production, for Christ's sakes. If not, you need to sort it out, girl. Put you in charge.
Uh, yeah, I personally think also sometimes I think that I should be in charge, but then I realize Sweden would be at war right now if I was in charge because Russia has violated our airspace, our waters. They can't come over land because, frankly, Finland and Norway is in the way. But I, the fact that this missile that just dropped, the Russian one that dropped in Poland, that would have catapulted Sweden into war with Russia because I'd be like, ah, what happened to the one, not one single inch of NATO land? And I don't know. Was there like an exception for exactly that landing spot? I don't know. It seems weird to me. The fact that they're allowed to violate the Baltic states' airspace and their territorial waters and doing the I am not really in your country, but I'm getting closer. See, I'm right at the line, especially with Estonia. There's like a bridge and they go right up to the border and they're like, you can't touch me because I haven't moved into your country. And my kids used to play this game in the back of the car when I was driving. The youngest would be annoying the shit out of his brother, going like, the air is free. And he would not be touching his brother. He would just annoy him with like waving his hand in front of his face. And my oldest son, mainly because I was driving, I couldn't do much about it. He just turned around, slapped the shit out of his little brother, and go like, the air is never free. And that was the end of the discussion. And that is how I would solve this too. Russia's going like the air is free, the air is free, and I just want to slap them and go like, no, there's a high price to pay, and that is why I say fuck Russia. Thank you.
Yeah, but Jenny, people should know that I think it's Sweden, Norway, and Finland have now practically amalgamated their um, what am I trying to say? Air forces into one big air force now, and they share command around commanders, don't they? So they've practically formed a massive, great big air wing to protect all the Baltic states up there, Nordic states actually. So kudos to you lot because Norway have only just joined, haven't they? And yet you've done all this work and it's already and working.
It is Sweden that just joined.
Sorry, I
Norway was one.
apologise.
Yeah, Norway was part of the founding, and we're working on. So obviously, in peacetime, the Swedish Air Force or the Norwegian Air Force will not be under any of this others command than Norway. That is in peacetime. But if there's a threat, then the command for the Nordic Air Fleet will be in, I believe it was Tromsø, up in northern Norway. And at the moment, it's the Swedes that are commanding it. And this one person will order attacks on coming from all four countries, and we will fly as one. And they're doing combined because Sweden is the only one that doesn't have American planes. The other ones have F-16s, F-18s, or F-35s. And but we're now doing exercises so we can move as one. We're also doing working on doing the same, but with the army and the navy as well. And that will also be in wartime. It will be under one central control, all four. It's quite amazing. And this is what NATO was intended to be like. So sorry, Mockers, but this is like a geek thing for me. Um, so this was why we have NATO. We're supposed to be acting as one. And I think because of the close connection between the Nordic countries, I did post a funny video about the relationship and the history of the Nordics, explained in like less than 3 minutes. But we do act as one when there's an external threat, and now we have proven it that we can do this. But we have been working together militarily for since the 90s. We have been having combined exercises where we work with the with the militaries from Norway and Denmark. Sweden and Finland has had probably at the same time. We're a little bit tighter and a little bit better prepared with Finland because we have done not just exercises with NATO with Finland, but that's what we've been doing with. And this is what NATO was supposed to be. attack one, and all the countries act as one, not under individual countries' commands. So the Nordics proved that it can be done. Anyways, now I'll really shut up. Thank you.
No, it's all good to know. All good to know. Now, something else Ukraine did yesterday was announce a new tranche of sanctions. And let me just go through some of these because there's a few things on here which I didn't necessarily expect. But we all know that when Ukraine announces sanctions, what they're doing is they're actually announcing that these places are targets. Because Ukrainian sanctions are a lot more kinetic than anybody else's. Have you noticed? So they've imposed sanctions on companies supplying ballistic components and servicing the Russian military-industrial complex. So this decision on sanctions against 23 companies and 20 individuals associated with them that supply equipment and components to the Russian military-industrial complex in circumvention of international restrictions. The list includes enterprises that manufacture explosives, rocket fuel, components for Iskander-M, as well as those that supply electronic warfare systems, drones, and other products for the occupiers. It also lists a number of Russian IT companies that create digital solutions and IT security programs for state and private customers. And yes, Ukrainian sanctions are usually of the long-range variety. It's very likely that he's basically just announcing a list of targets. Now, one of these is actually a Ukrainian firm. So, amongst these are the Belarusian company Kidma, which manufactures optical equipment and repairs guided missiles, and the Morozov plant, part of the Rostec group, which supplies solid fuel charges for the engines of Iskander-M ballistic missiles. Sanctions also apply to, and this is a good one, Spet Select Tron Komplekt, all one word that, which is involved in the production of air-to-surface missiles. Oberon Stahl, which supplies fastening components for KH-59, varying types missiles. Restriction also targets companies supplying drones and electronic warfare equipment. So we've got Aurum, 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 LLC, UAV Ural, Nizhny Novgorod instrument making company Salyut 27. They further cover suppliers of microelectronics, optical components and industrial equipment for the defense industry. So we have Connector Optics, TT Micro, Component Service Group, all one word for some reason, Una Engineering, Cryogenovia, NN, whoever they are, MASH Service, Tech MASH Import, I think they do imports, Trading House Zavolsky, Chemical Plant, Sinocon and Sadayev groups. In addition, IT companies, Enforcer Engineering. Sounds very exciting, that doesn't it? Equant, SOIS Consulting, and VS Labs. They all develop digital solutions for information security systems for government and military. The list of sanctioned entities also includes the Borislav Oil Company, a joint venture registered in Lviv Oblast. The reason for including this has not yet been specified. The sanctions are imposed either indefinitely or for a period of 10 years, including asset freezes, a complete ban on trade operations, and revocation of licenses and restrictions on transferring any capital outside of Ukraine. However, you know for a fact that they're just going to get smacked, some of these places now. Now we've identified you, we've given you fair warning, and I have a funny feeling that there will have to be, some sanctions incoming for them. So fair warning has been given, and they're basically saying, get out of these places because we're going to hit them. And I think it's very kind of them to give that warning, isn't it? Now, you've put something in the nest, Firefella, which I've been pondering over whether we would talk about this or not, because I need some more information. But yesterday, this was announced that a number of Russian aircraft have been taken out. And there is some not brilliant footage and perhaps some satellite images, which suggest that this may be the case, but it's not brilliant imagery yet.
Bit sketchy,
So,
is it?
well, it's just you can't actually see any planes taken out. What you can see is what looks to be hangars that may or may not have been damaged. You know, so hangars that are possibly damaged, but I don't know how damaged those hangars are from the overhead views that we've got. And also, the overhead view is very blurry because it's not the high quality images that you have to pay for. So we're just waiting to see if we can get a bit more info, because usually as well a Russian source will tend to give it away also. But remember the training aircraft, those L-29 training aircraft? Well, they were destroyed. I think one of them crashed, actually. So, maybe that was like technical faults, whatever. But two Su-35 fighters. And I'm just waiting for a bit more information on those. So yesterday it was announced that two Su-34 fighters may have been at least damaged to a point of needing, high repairs at the Kansky Military Airfield in the Makop district of Russia. They're actually saying they took out two additional L-39 training aircraft at this place. So this is what they say. And they've brought a lovely graphic out here. But like I say, I just need to be absolutely sure. Now, this also looks from the trajectory like they didn't use drones to do this. Remember how there was a little issuance of flamingos the other day, and then there was no word whatsoever, and it was assumed that they were all shot down. But what if they weren't? Because some of them were flying very low indeed, and that would have been a real trick for air defence to even see them. I mean, they would see them come in as they arrived, basically. They wouldn't see them from a long way off because of just how low they were, literally skimming treetops. So there is a possibility, but we've got no pictures of the aftermath. And of course, missiles don't carry cameras for the benefit of our, viewing pleasure. So this well could be the case, but I just don't have visual confirmation yet. And that's what we're sort of hanging around for. But yes, the SBU have claimed that they can confirm the destruction of two Su-35 fighters and two L-39 training aircraft, along with the fuel and lubricants tank part and other airfield infrastructure at the Cansky Military Airfield. Now, if this is the case, if they were able to do this, that is taking out the Archer, not the Arrow. And this would be a really big thing. And the SBU said that this was part of the 40-day operation, that they had, got this in their sights. And perhaps this was the culmination of the 40 days, but I don't think so, because 40 days is it's the 40th day today. So I'm still expecting something else. So we will see. We will see. I just wonder if we can just have that confirmed a bit better, because all very well and good telling us, but I would just like to see some more evidence. And it's probably only going to come in better satellite imagery, which we just don't have yet. So we shall wait and see. But, I mean, they don't tend to claim things that they don't do, you know? It's very unlikely they would claim something that hasn't actually happened. Tend to believe them when they tell me things, but I just want another source. I just want a bit more info rather than just they told us.
Well, because
You
you
know?
should be a lieutenant general in the Ukrainian army waiting for confirmation. Good on you. No. So I'm assured, not assured. I'm happy with the SBU have claimed, and I don't think they claim stuff that they haven't actually hit. But yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, you should wait for more detailed evidence of said attack. But I'm all right with it. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Just to note as well, there's been a nice video come out of two FPV drones, don't know what type, circling somewhere near St. Petersburg. Now, it says they're possibly under the influence of electronic warfare, and that's why they're circling. Either that or they're homing in on their target. So we'll see. We'll see. There is as well a lovely video of the drone striking the new Wildberries at Krasny Bor. And there is a suggestion that one of the, you know how there was an attack near Moscow, Chekhov, Moscow region, that there was apparently another Wildberries logistics center in the village of Novorossiysk in the Moscow region that doesn't appear to have been hit, but there does appear to be a fire nearby, suggesting that perhaps they were after that one and didn't quite reach it. So there's that I thought was quite worth knowing. This Krasny Bor one, is absolutely flaming, going for it. So we will see. We will see. The one in the Leningrad region from yesterday is it's just the outer walls that are left. Everything else seems to have gone. In case you wondered. Oh, now then, I've just got some pictures literally just popped up from the Chekhov region. Chekhov, Moscow, the situation. And there is quite a large building here, which, yeah, there's, right, so this is the place here. It is another Wildberries by the looks of things. And it does look to have had a number of drones land around it on one side of the building. Made a mess of their car park, but there wasn't any vehicles parked there, so fair enough. Their loading area now has some debris in it as well. So yeah, I think that's what that was. That was an attempt to hit that place, and it didn't quite work out, that one. Never mind. So there's that. I also have this from a Russian channel. A tragedy in Sevastopol. An emergency has occurred in the village of Khmelnytsky. I don't know that place. According to preliminary reports, one serviceman opened fire on his fellow soldiers. As a result, one person was killed and one wounded. Subsequently, in the village, the attacker wounded 3 more and killed 3 civilians. 2 men aged 71 and 59, and a woman aged 64. So it seems that that guy decided he was having a bad day, and so was everybody else. And this is what happens when you don't look after your mental health, folks. Just saying. They probably told him he was about to go off to the front line, and he was like, no, I'm not. So he decided to bring the front line home. You know, death and destruction for all. So, tragedy. But that's what happens when you don't look after your mental health and you have access to firearms. Those two things don't go well together. Would you like some numbers? I'm just having a quick look at the Curzon refinery and how beautifully that's burning right now. Beautifully.
It's going well, isn't it? It's a good start. Yes, numbers. Carry on, number one.
Let's have some of them then. Ow. I heard him then. Got a lot to say for himself today.
He's very vocal this morning, so he woke me up like that, like 2 inches from my ear roll. So I fed him, and he's just kept on ever since. He wants a second tin. Well, he ain't having them. Otherwise, he'll turn into a fatty boy. We're not having that.
Well, yeah, you've got to distract him with something. You got any catnip? That's what I did the other day when the ladies were fighting. I just catnipped them, and they were like, "Oh, we don't need to fight anymore because we're high." Yeah, that worked. So it's the 4th of August today, all day for me, and you know what? We finally dropped down to 1,240 liquidated personnel. It's still high though, but it's finally come down below 1,300. We have 5 tanks and 4 armoured combat vehicles. I mean, it's a parade. We have 55 artillery systems and 4 more MLRS, taking us to exact total of 2,000. I mean, that's a lot of MLRS to be losing, by the way,
Yay.
considering they don't take up a large part of your force. Go on.
Great numbers. Great numbers.
Exactly. And what's this? Oh, another 5 air defence systems. Now, I feel as though these were mostly in Crimea. There was a whole bunch of suggestion that air defence systems in Crimea were being taken out yesterday. So I'm going to assume that that's what that was referring to. And then we have this. We have 379 vehicles and fuel tanks. Now, I know that's a little bit down, folks, but if Ukraine makes a road completely impassable, apart from for the very intrepid Mad Maxes, eventually the numbers of those vehicles traversing there is going to go down because people don't want to go there, which I understand. So that could also have a bearing on these numbers, that if the vehicles just aren't there, they can't be taken out, can they? Some people see these reduction in numbers and go, "Oh, Ukraine's having a terrible day." Well, not necessarily. Perhaps Russia's having a terrible day, and they just haven't sent any vehicles down that road, or not half as many as they normally do, because there's a couple of fuel tankers on fire down that road yesterday. So maybe that might have put a crimp on them, sending a lot of vehicles. What else do we have? We have 1,792 UAVs. Sorry, that was a yawn. It's gone up, but still not cracked that 2,000, has it? Which, I believe that Ukraine still maintains a certain level of shooting them down, which means that there's an issue with Russia's production. I mean, there's still been a shed load, absolutely shed loads, but Ukraine are chipping away at their production capacity. And 12 more ground robotic complex, because how dare you? How dare you? Indeed. So there is also the Air Force report. Now, obviously, I moan about this every damn day, this Air Force report, because, well, it shouldn't be normal. It really shouldn't be normal. And what do we have here? We have 1 Iskander-M ballistic missile sent from the Rostov region. Sorry, I really couldn't stop that one. I've been trying to hold it off for ages. Right.
Yawn.
Okay. I know it was a big yawn. It's been threatening to attack me for ages. I obviously need more coffee. So 1 Iskander-M ballistic missile and
Or sleep.
100 and what?
Or sleep.
Well, yeah, it would help if I'd have gone to bed on time, but I was scrubbing blood off the walls and floor, like I worked in a slaughterhouse. I know, it's very, very strange
You
situation.
were playing good nurse. Well done, you. Top work. Crack on.
Yes, indeed.
Sorry, I
So-
interrupted.
You're all right. So 1 Iskander-M and 136 UAVs of various types. Now, I have noticed that they've been releasing some videos recently of both French Mirage and F-16 shooting down these jet drones. And the F-16, they're shooting them down with like an onboard gun. rather than, firing a missile at it, because what's the point in that? It's just a waste,
Yes.
massive waste.
Switch to machine guns.
Yeah. So they're using the pew pew guns, which I think is fun. So, according to preliminary data, as of 2 hours ago, they shot down and suppressed 117 out of 137. So I think even I can do the maths on that one. So that leaves 19 drones and one ballistic missile that were not taken out. The missile and 14 strike UAVs have been recorded hitting 14 locations, as well as the fall of downed fragments at 3 locations. The attack continues. So there's that. Now, if you work at Wildberries, and I feel as though the guys at the Wildberries this morning, they didn't get this memo on time. But if you work at Wildberries now, from yesterday, you're not allowed to have a smartphone at the location. Stop it. So yeah, this is what happens when you don't get to bed on time. I apologize. So they're banning camera phones from their warehouses from the 3rd of August. So I'm not sure what happened this morning, but we've got some beautiful images this morning, which suggest that nobody got that memo. Only allowing push-button phones. Remember those old phones that lasted forever? What were they? The Nokia 3310.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone's going to be pulling out their old Nokia 3310s. But anyway,
Because they
this
can't
follows
take
a month.
pictures, can they? That's why.
Yeah, exactly. So this follows a month in which Ukrainian drones have absolutely destroyed 8 Wildberries warehouses, and loads of people have been like, "Look at that beautiful image," and setting it as their screen wallpaper, on their phones. There have been some absolutely gorgeous, really arty images. One in particular the other day, where there was like buildings on either side of the street, and you just see in the middle the entire sky taken up by this really almost beautiful plume of smoke. And art. The art has a way of happening. So yeah, they don't like these images, but it would appear that the the guys at the logistics hub at Krasny Bor, which is near St. Petersburg, by the way, Wildberries, they didn't get that memo because there's lots of images. And just to let you know that the Wildberries bingo card is filling up nicely. So yes, these things are sent to try us. So Cyber Boroshno, those guys, they put out a statement. According to their calculations, after this wave, the picture for 25 key warehouses is as follows. 56.0% of the total area, 12 complexes, have burned down completely. 24.5%, 5 complexes, were hit, and only 19.5%, 8 complexes, are still intact. Now, remember that video of that flamingo flying really low? Well, it's been noted that it looked a little bit different to the original flamingo missile. In the case of its engine's got a little bit different. And it turns out that instead of the massive roaring Soviet engine that it had strapped to it, it's now been given its very own jet engine, which is a little bit smaller, more efficient. It was developed jointly with the same design bureau that once created the AI-25 engine. Its AI-25 TL modification was the first to be installed on the FP5 Flamingo cruise missile. According to Firepoint, this missile has already been equipped with 5 different engines so far, and this is the newest one. So I like that. Very nice. Now, I do have some political news. Let's go into this. The RADA has agreed to open a representation in the European Parliament to basically try and make things ease the situation with Poland. They wish to strengthen parliamentary cooperation within the EU and support the process of Ukraine's accession at the same time. In addition, Stefanchuk stressed the need to protect the rights of the Ukrainian citizens who are currently in Poland. The Ukrainian Parliament is opening and maintaining a constant dialogue with the Polish Senate and, well, I don't know how to pronounce this, SEJM, those guys. So that's something to note that, you know, they're specifically trying to deal with that issue because it's you can quite clearly see that these hateful groups that Russia has a part to play with are currently activated to attack all Ukrainians that they come across because this is happening regularly. And, you know, we know it's not generally the Polish people, it's these fuckers in these groups, neo-Nazi groups, basically, who, you know, have a connection to Russia, who've been activated to do this sort of thing to cause trouble. And we need to keep it clear that this is not the Polish people in particular. This is a subset, a relatively very small group of people doing horrible things, and they will be held accountable. But it's a shame that, you know, it's happening in the first place. Now, a little bit more about what's going on with defense contracts, because, well, Fedorov started this, and he was particularly adamant that, you know, you can't just give contracts to people you know. You've got to give contracts to people who are going to produce you the best stuff, who have the incentive to work properly, because, you know, if they don't, the contract will go to somebody else, and are also going to spend your money wisely. So this is something that Fedorov was really, you know, very found very important. And it is true that there has been a lot of this going on, of these guys who were basically giving contracts to people that they were friends with, not necessarily producing the best equipment that everybody wants and needs. This shit happens all over the place, in all defense industries as well. So, you know, it's not, oh, look at Ukraine, they're so corrupt. It's, oh, look at the defense industry. It's very much not what you know, but who you know. And it's the same with a lot of other things in life, isn't it? And of course, Fedorov said, that shit's got to stop. We need the best. We need the most capable. We don't need these guys sitting pretty, having government contracts like welfare queens, and not producing exactly what it is that we actually need. So, you know, good for him for starting this off. And it looks as though Ukraine's defense ministry has indeed decided that, you know, this is something that they need to continue with or without him. So the ministry has now signed a cooperation management memorandum with Ucontrol. Now, I know people who work for Ucontrol, and I've had a right good look at some of their what they produce, basically. And what they produce is an online platform that you can go in and you can type in the name of a company or the name of a CEO or, you know, the name of a product. And that will tell you who it's connected to, what are the companies it's connected to. Are any of them connected to Russia in any way? And whether or not they are considered to be entirely above board. They have done this massive due diligence operation, and it's still going on, and put it all in a database. So I think I still have a link to it somewhere. But either way, you can pop in any company and it will give you their entire life's history. Any person who works for these companies who's like, you know, an owner or anything like that, it will give you their entire history. And it will tell you whether or not these people are kosher to be worked with. So this due diligence platform is now going to vet every potential defense supplier before they're given a state contract. So the reason they put together this really easy to use database is to speed up the process of vetting for everything. I mean, you know, it doesn't have to be just for defense contracts, but I mean, for everything. So this will close the door to any sort of corrupt suppliers. And I think this is a really good move because it's, you know, it's a level of transparency that perhaps they haven't had before. So the Deputy Defence Minister, I'm not going to say his first name, Mr. Bannock, said that this will entirely speed up the process of them vetting people because, you know, it's requires a bit of research and thought. And if somebody's done all that for you already and you can just type in the details and find out everything about this company, then, you know, it's really handy. Any risk not identified in time can cause delivery delays or negatively impact the quality of the product, the weapons, and the logistical support for our troops even. So what gets checked? Whether they're anywhere near a sanctions list, ultimate beneficial owners of the company, if they have any corporate ties to Russia with non-resident companies as well, if they have outstanding debt, if there are any criminal proceedings, including corruption-related cases, and any other broader security risk factors. I remember talking to this lady when she'd very first put together this database. I mean, she was only one of the people that worked on it, but she was so proud of it because she was like, look at this, look at what we can do. We can tell you who everybody is now and who their beneficial owners are and whether there's any connection to Russia and so on and so forth. Suppliers submit their company information through the electronic portal and it's integrated directly with U-Control. They pull automatically from state registers instead of officials having to manually search dozens of separate databases. What used to take weeks can now happen in a single workflow. The tool is called the Trust Index and gives an initial risk profile quickly and flags anything that requires deeper scrutiny. It's explicitly the first step. And you know what? It wasn't done with AI. It was done with people putting this information together and checking and rechecking everything to make sure it was absolutely spot on, correct information. Because you know what AI does, don't you? It fucking lies. So this is only the first step, however, not the final verdict. Anything flagged for risk requires a ministry official to verify it against official state registries before any sort of contract decision is made. U-Control are also training Defence Ministry staff to use their database. So you can search contractor data and you can analyze large open source data sets framework for it to check all these things.
Are you still with us or is she gone? Ockers?
I'm thinking she may be gone again.
I think she's dropped. So,
Okay.
you're going to get her back? Can I
I
leave that
shall
in
do
your good hands?
magic. I shall do magic.
As you always do. So, stopping your mate getting the contract, that's not corruption. It's just being friendly, isn't it? No, people, it's corruption, low-level corruption, and it just spreads. And that's what Fedorov was fighting, to be honest. All the people, the department he took up, they were just, you know, historically just giving these contracts to the people that they knew, which is never right, people. And it happens in every organisation. So you just have to, because, you know, people have mates outside the organisation who do stuff that the organisation wants. And instead of going through the tender process, ish comes. They go through this other process called, oh, he's me mate. And he's really good at that. So he can do that. Well, no, he can't. And it's absolutely right that the Ukrainians get this sorted, because, oh, no, sorry, James, I invited you and it should have been Mockers. Take no notice. Yeah, so I'm really pleased that they're doing this, because it gets rid of the what I call low level corruption, but it's still corruption. And if it's left unchecked, it will turn into high level corruption, which is obviously what happened. And of course, when you do stuff like that, you upset a load of people, don't you? And that's why there's a load of noise around this. But anyway, welcome back, Mockers.
I thank you. I thank you. Yeah, this is really important stuff. I mean, somebody's just said, but it won't replace Fedorov, but it is part and parcel of what he'd already put in place. It's not meant to replace him. It's meant to do the due diligence that he was trying to get put in place. So that is important. Look, one man doesn't win a war. And I hate to say it, but he has proven himself notoriously difficult to work with a lot of people. And he has been the subject of a witch hunt by people who weren't happy with the fact that they were losing money out of their back pocket. So it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. That, unfortunately, you can't walk around with a big ego. Even if you're fucking brilliant, you've got to work with others.
Hi, Mockers.
And what?
No, just sometimes in your team, you do need somebody that kicks stuff. But I'm with you. There's only so much kicking you can do, isn't there? So once you've kicked it, then you have to start talking to people in not a friendly way, but in a way that communicates what your point is. And that's the bit I think he misses. So he's really good at changing stuff. I get that. But he's not good at communicating why he's making those changes or how he wants to make those changes. And that's been his downfall. But there you go.
Well, his downfall was upsetting a few people that have a lot of power still. Perhaps they shouldn't. But he was also, not the best, not the gentlest character to work with. And perhaps that's how he felt he had to be. But in some cases, if there's that one person in the office that pisses everybody off, who's going to end up on the outside? It's that one person, whether they're really good at their job or not. So, it's a difficult situation and it's not really up to me to comment on it. But I will say that I have heard all sorts of good things about him, but also a bunch of bad things about him that, he is actually, even when you're working with him, very difficult to work with. And so what can you do? These things happen. And I understand his point that he doesn't want to, be in a position which he doesn't have any power, doesn't have any ability to do stuff. But he was literally offered like 5 or 6 jobs and turned them all down because he insisted he wanted one position and one position only. Well, that's how you talk yourself out of a job. And that's basically what he's done. He's talked himself out of a job by being just so stubborn. And I get it. I get why. But, there's only so many jobs you can be offered on a silver platter before somebody says, look, I have nothing left to offer you because I can't put you back in that position because that would make me look weak. And you've literally painted yourself into this corner now. There's nothing I can do. And that's the situation he's put himself in, as far as I can see.
Yeah. You get to a certain point where the boss goes, look, I hate to remind you, mate, but I am the boss. And in the absence of you making a decision, you're going to force me to make a decision. And you're probably not going to like the decision, which is where I think everybody got to. Anyway, Lexicon, you got your hand up. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Yeah, this is a real tough thing, and the difficulty is that we can't really know the blow by blow, and who took missteps and so on. So, I don't think we actually have the evidence. We do have lots of opinions, as you say. They're 5 a dozen, does whatever, 5 for $1. But I think also Ukrainian people are, there's a real fundamental there that at least the very large group who support Fedorov in a key position are talking about, they're talking about the whole the really rather deep issue of corruption in this contracting system, which is a current and really big issue because, as we're all seeing, they're contracting for major production lots, week by week, day by day. This is a big, it's a big production time in the Ukrainian army and in the government throughout all kinds of areas. So I don't know. I think one thing the Ukrainians are saying is that we're stubborn too. I saw that, like when they called the big march, because it's just been going to the square every night. But when they did the march on Friday night which was to welcome Zelensky back home from his trip to America, so it was massive. And anybody I've seen reporting has said that this is a bigger number than they'd seen since the Maidan of the night of 2013-14. Now, people are saying that, back then we were ready to stand out there for 3 months. The Georgians have been out for 2 years almost. I don't know, what'll happen. But one thing Ukrainians are saying is that we're in this discussion, listening to the people is not weakness. They're addressing the question you raise, of course. Like, some people are saying you can't bring a man back after all this, so he'd become untouchable. So they are addressing those sorts of things. They're saying that I saw even a Russian dissident yesterday saying, well, this is an institution in Ukrainian politics, the street, and the street plays this role that we just can't even grasp. It was rather intriguing to hear this guy understanding this institution. So, yeah, I mean, you're right. We really cannot. It's not only that we can't really comment, the problem is we can't know. Like, I talk with everyone I can. Actually, it's amazing. Everyone I can supports this position that he should be back where he is, even if they recognize that maybe it won't happen. So I don't know. I'd rather we just sort of hold off. I don't think we can recount what happened because we really don't know. One thing Ukrainians are saying is they have not seen an actual reason given for him not being in that position. Zelensky did not say, well, you pissed people off and things like that, that this man cannot work properly with the people he's supposed to work with. We've not seen it at all. We've also, of course, seen people saying, look, he managed to work with the US, he managed to work with Musk, he managed to get the tech bros in line. And of course, people are thinking that the use of Starlink selectively over Russian territory may enable Ukraine to go after the strategic bombers. So and the places of building of the ballistic missiles. So I don't know. It's not a small matter. I don't think it's just a contest of wills. And I think we should just leave it like that, to just say we're going to see as time goes by what Ukrainians decide to do in this discussion, in this institution of the street, talking with its leaders. And honestly, I'm doing what I can to figure things out, and I would not say that I'm in a position to know what went on and what will be right. Well, I think we all agree what will be right is what Ukrainians decide to do in the end. But anyway, I just offer that as my view from here at the moment and my small ability to try and get a window on the situation. Back to you.
Yeah, it's not a very cut and dried situation. It's not something that can be fixed easily at this point, I don't think. But yeah, there's a lot of things gone on which have landed to this situation. However, those reforms are continuing. As I said, with this YouGov involvement, That is really important because I've seen their database and how it works, and it is really, really quick. If I wanted to put in a company, any company, and I tried it, did it a couple of times, and they will tell you all their connections, whether they have had any Russian dealings or anything like that in the past, whether there's been any corruption found within their company ever, you know, so it is really good, really good. And hopefully that will go some way to, you know, alleviating some of the problems with corruption because, well, there are certain people within, and I'm not saying this about Ukraine, I'm saying this about everyone within the arms industry who, you know, that it's just them, and they don't expect to have any competition, and yet, you know, why should they always get all the contracts when there are other people coming up who can actually do a better job? And that's the whole point, that it's about what's best for the armed forces of Ukraine, not what's best for the CEOs of certain arms manufacturers. And well, it looks as though they're trying to implement something to make sure that that is more of a focus, and that is important. So I wanted to sort of, you know, just get into that. Now, there was something I was about to tell you, and because it does. That's what happens. Never mind. I'll come back to it. So, Ukraine has developed a new interceptor drone. It's called the Skazany, maybe. And it's got a flight range of 45 kilometers, tactical 25 kilometers, maximum duration of stay in the air 30 minutes, operating at altitude of 200 meters to 10,000 meters. And it's the same sort of species, I think, as the wild hornet sting. It's along that sort of, you know, species, but I think that they have upgraded, updated, and you know, made it a little bit more effective. This is the thing, when you have interceptors like this and you test them in real time, you can then make them better. And I think that's what this is. It's sort of like, you know, an updated version of the wild hornet sting, and things, you know, developing all the time in real time situations. So, here it is. This is what I wanted to talk about. So, there was a fella this morning seen running around his van, and he's a fruit seller in Kherson, being chased by a Russian drone. And the video does not end very satisfactorily because you don't know what happened to the man. You see him being chased around his van by this Russian drone. And eventually the drone strikes and you can't see what happens to the man. Well, I can confirm to you that he is alive. I don't know whether he was injured. His van is probably broken. But he's sitting down here, from what I can tell, having a fag. So it looks as though he's probably okay. But you know what that is, don't you? That is pure terrorism. That is absolutely fucking disgusting. Chasing a civilian in an attempt to murder him. And why? Because he's a Ukrainian. That's the only reason. So, you know, whoever that drone operator is, I'm assuming that there'll soon be a was, but whoever that drone operator is, they took sadistic pleasure in chasing him around, trying to take him out. Now, they obviously didn't kill him, but it's not the point, is it? It terrified that poor man. And that's fucking disgusting, it really is. So I just wanted you to know that he's alive. Now, in the Leningrad region, the air defense was so bad at dealing with drones that they had to put a helicopter into the air, and that didn't help much either, apparently. So they put this helicopter up, and they may have taken out one of these drones. I can see something exploding in the air. I'm assuming that's not the helicopter that's exploding, and that will be a drone that's exploding. But it says it wasn't very helpful. Oh, and the Russians have indeed now claimed this attack, claimed responsibility for this civilian being chased around his, fruit stall. There are crests circulating a video about a strike on dual-use equipment. This vehicle has been seen delivering dual-use cargo, is what they say. Right, at the back of his truck, he opens up the back of his truck and sets up a fruit stand. Fruit, right? It's a very dual-use equipment, that. And he goes on to say, this trader handles the logistics of dual-use cargo. This time he was lucky. And that's what they're using as an excuse. That fruit is a dual-use cargo. So there you go. What a bunch of scumbags.
Lies, and
Anyway,
more damn
well,
lies, mockers.
Yeah, absolutely. Bloody liars. Jenny, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, have you ever been like, had somebody throw a watermelon at your head at really hard? I guess that could be dual use. I don't know. That is so bizarre. And that shows you that the Russians are fucked in there. Back to you guys.
I'll just say potatoes are easier to throw. Not that I've ever thrown half a bag of potatoes at somebody, one after the other, in anger. No, never done that. Let me just check my cat's head. How are you now? Well, you wouldn't even know you had a cut on your head now, apart from the fact that your ears have still got blood on the tips, eh? Right. So she's okay. To be fair, I cleaned her all up and she immediately struggled out of my arms and went and ate some biscuits, so she wasn't that bothered after creating what looked like a massacre in my hallway. Little sod. Right. So, yet another Wildberries facility is on fire this morning. And Chris Owicki did a nice sort of write-up yesterday about, the ensuing problems with Wildberries. And it's already out of date. It's amazing, isn't it, how Ukraine just has a habit of, just getting on with the job. So let's talk about smartphones and camera phones, because apparently they're no longer allowed anymore, except for this morning when there was quite clearly people taking videos. So the company is trying to take care of the most important problem, reportedly banning employees from bringing smartphones to prevent them filming the aftermath of any drone strikes, which obviously hasn't worked. So this is changes to the rules for carrying phones. Beginning from August the 3rd, all smartphones are prohibited from being brought into the warehouses. However, they said nothing about standing around outside in the car park holding them, did they? This is implemented to prevent employees from filming the drone strikes and the aftermath. However, this is the ultimate solution to all Russian problems, isn't it? If we can't see it, it's not happening. So if nobody posts a photo or a video, just deny it. Yeah, just deny it. So that's what they do. Just pretend it isn't happening. Wearing blinkers doesn't mean that the thing is not there. It just means that you can't see it. And that's not necessarily a real solution. Now, talking of solutions, nothing says wartime leadership and patriotism quite like throwing a $112,000 birthday party at one of Moscow's most expensive restaurants, eh? So this is the Balzy Rozzy, or the Red Cross. During the Russian Aerospace Forces Commander Alexander Chayko's birthday party, Z channels spent less time actually condemning the attack upon him and more time questioning what he was doing there in the first place. Because you see, this is the thing in the day of smartphones and information availability, that in the past, the serfs, the little people, wouldn't have really known that he was living it up in luxury with his family and friends. It wouldn't have mattered, because how would they have found out? Who would have cared? And the few that did know would be keeping their mouths shut for fear of reprisals. But in the days of smart technology and phones and cameras on every hand and, you know, the internet, even though they're trying to ban it, people still use it. People just, you can't keep things quiet anymore. You just cannot do anything in secret anymore, it would seem. Well, especially not if you're out in the public. So, a number of Telegram channels have left the following comments. Only in our country are important facilities burning every day while some effing general celebrates his birthday with a 9 million ruble party. Oh, got a point there, hasn't he? If the target of the terrorist attack was senior military officers, why were they sat together in a restaurant? Have we already won this war? Are there no problems at the front? This is a very strange location for them to be currently stationed. And again, he's got a point. Now, I honestly don't think that the SBU did this. I think this is their own, problem. It may be that they're. I'm not saying that this is. I think somebody like the Black Spark or Free Russia Legion or somebody like this might have organised this sort of thing, because Ukrainian SBU will walk up beside the person, check their name, and then cut their throat. That's how they operate. Or they will, catch you in your car late at night, put a bullet in your head through the side window. That they don't tend to do these sorts of big events. I mean, don't get me wrong, they might have, but it's not their style usually. The rude word for Ukrainians, tried to kill yet another top military commander. This time, the commander of an entire branch of the armed forces, along with all his guests, meaning a whole crowd of elite officers. Now, the reason there were so many injuries at this place is because the bomb itself was filled with ball bearings, shrapnel. So it was meant to do maximum damage to as many people as possible in a small space. So it was a well-designed bomb for its purpose. However, it exploded just within inside the front door, which is why this guy, I think, survived. Pretty sure he survived. Although, when journalists asked a question about him, they were greeted with the answer, he is 55. And that doesn't really tell you an awful lot, does it? What? So is he alive or dead? Well, he's 55 years old. Oh, okay. So I wonder if he's gone a little bit underground and nobody really knows what the score is. Otherwise, they'd, I'm sure, have better answers.
Which bit of him's 55 mockers, or not all of him?
Well, maybe he's 55 forever now, I don't know.
Possible.
Well, anyway, this continues. Only the professionalism and heroism of the security officer prevented the room being attacked, basically. Let me add, in case anyone hasn't noticed, in just 1 week, they've tried to kill a top general, 2 drone manufacturers, one of whom is in critical condition, and we insist on being better than them. We don't carry out any assassinations. Now, I need to come in here and just add that they have tried to assassinate Zelensky at least double figures, that amount of times. They have made attempts on all sorts of other people within the Ukrainian armed forces. And that's the thing. They haven't been successful. Although they have in some cases, haven't they? There has been assassinations in both Kyiv and Lviv, which the Russians have orchestrated. So Don't give me none of that bullshit, because that is just absolute living in the land of pink ponies bullshit. We don't assassinate anyone.
Absolutely, Marcus. Budanov and his wife, don't forget, poisoning.
Oh, yes. Yeah, indeed. And a whole group of other armed forces specialists who were also caught up in that. And he says, we're not even trying. What are we waiting for? Are we waiting for them to go after the grandpa at the top of our train? And what if they succeed? Oh, mate, are you asking? Are you asking nicely? Because Ukraine would love to do that. Just give them an opportunity, you know? What's the takeaway here? This is a new one. The commander should focus on the war and defeating terrorism. Well, you'd have to stop your own army if you were going to defeat terrorism. Anyway, instead of wandering around restaurants where a bowl of soup will cost you 6,000 rubles, seems expensive, he felt like he was the elite a little too early. Oh, we don't like that. Don't be claiming airs and graces before you've earned them. During wartime, all anniversaries should be celebrated with only family and trusted friends. Elite restaurants must wait until after victory. But of course, you know, these guys consider themselves elite, so already, you know, they get all these medals and stuff, so why shouldn't they stomp around pretending to be so very important? Another channel, Filatov. Nothing surprising here. Everyone knows the conditions in the air and space forces. Infantry regiments are in a completely different place. The commander, who has never distinguished himself as a military leader anywhere, somehow was conquering a banquet hall instead of his job. No Parasan. There's a war on, and they're out partying in restaurants, holding banquets for F's sake. What is this? Anastasia Kasharova also weighed in. She had a little bit more to say because, you know, she likes the words. Balzirossi is one of the most expensive restaurants in Moscow. In 2021, it was put up for sale for nearly 1 billion rubles. It is a restaurant for only the very wealthy. Yana Rudovskaya, Victoria Bonya, government officials and politicians have all celebrated their birthdays there with eye-watering prices. The situation has generated no sympathy, not so much sympathy as disappointment and outrage. People say that the recently appointed general chose one of Moscow's most fashionable venues to celebrate his birthday. But our people can't seem to grasp that there is a war on, and we are all in the crosshairs. And this elitist attitude of those in uniform, not having a secret barbecue at the dacha, but renting out an ultra-expensive restaurant. She's a little bit scathing as well. You see, here's the thing. It's always been like this. It's very rich man, poor man, isn't it? In most societies, to be fair. But in Russia, ever so much more pronounced because the poor are so very poor. But now, of course, there's social media, so people see the discrepancy very clearly. You see, serfs don't get birthday parties, but feudal lords and higher castes can do what they like. I mean, you know, what's unclear? Dying in the dirt is for the serfs, and their masters get Dom Perignon and truffle linguine. It's just how it goes. The Russian way of doing business. So perhaps somebody said here he got the present he deserved, but not really, because he's reportedly still alive. And so let's hope next time he gets paid in full for what he deserves. So there. Yeah, so that's that situation, and very, very upset about the whole thing. They are, and so they should be. So they should be. Now, websites of Russian banks, all the main ones anyway, including VTB, Sberbank, and Alpha Bank, are now completely inaccessible in Chrome, Safari, and Edge browsers. What's happened is they've had their SSL certificates revoked. So we revoked the certificates and the bank said, fuck you guys, we don't need you anyway, and turned off the connections. So it says here, the bank switched to certificates of the National Certification Center of the Ministry of Digital Affairs of the Russian Federation, which is not supported by most browsers. So they are accessible, but when you go to the browser, it actually says this certificate is not to be trusted. So I don't know if you've ever done that. You've gone to a slightly dodgy website, and it doesn't trust the certificate because it's not been fully certified properly. I have a problem with our work computer every now and again not recognizing the certificate of one of our actual main programs that we use, because it needs to be updated regularly, to check that everything's still as it should be. And some idiot in IT just forgets to do it. And so you'll spend half a day not being able to do any work because the certificate wasn't updated. And I'm quite sure that somebody lost a job over that at some point, or at least they should have done. But yeah, that generally will only mean that there'll be far fewer people visiting it. And also, if they're relying on sort of like, this more tenuous connection, everything can be shut down a lot easier if you get access to that as well. You can do attacks a lot easier, what's it called? Cyber attacks a lot easier now, apparently. So there we go. These things happen, eh? Now, I just think I will leave you with this because there's a lot of things that I could tell you, but I'm running out of time and I need to start work. So there is a sign next to the wild berries that burned to the ground in Novorossiysk, and it reads, it's like like a Hollywood sign. It's like letters or spelling out something, and it reads, Russia is our sacred homeland. And I'm just gonna retweet this because he's also chosen a piece of music to go with this piece of video. And the piece of music has the following words: burn to the end, take my heart with you, which I think is very fitting. So I do wonder if the person took this video and put the piece of music on, on the purpose, as a bit of a piss take. Because there is one thing that Russians do have, and it is a sense of humour. Because, that, look, if your situation is absolutely horrific and you don't laugh, you're going to cry. So I think, a lot of them have learned to cope with it with a very dark sense of humour. And this is just something else that I think, they actually do have a sense of humour after all, because, it doesn't mean they're better people. It just means at least we know that they can laugh at themselves as well. Because to choose this particular piece of music, it seems almost as though, they thought, oh, this would be perfect. So there's this video that shows this, Russia is our sacred homeland, and then he pans to the side and this thing is absolute inferno right next door. So I just think that that's just something to think about. Now, remember, folks, our Illumina campaign is still ongoing. And if you want some postcards to send to the Irish government to, make your own voice heard as one of the Munchin's birds, do get in contact with Dan, the tanker man, Shadow Tanker Bunker, and he will add you to the list. And other than that, keep on donating, folks. Rage donate if you have to, but keep on donating. And on that note, I need to tell you that I love you and I mean it, but I got to go to work. So bye then.
Thank you, Marcus. Right, people, don't forget, get hold of those fundraisers today. Just do a little for Ukraine, whatever you can afford. Especially to War Doggo and his SBU people who absolutely need our help in killing and eliminating vatniks all over the place. And there are still quite a lot to get rid of. So don't let the pressure up, people. Anyway, with that, good show today, Mockers, apart from the 2 crashes and you playing Nursey, but well done. Slava Ukraini, see you all tomorrow.
Herom Slava. Prince?
She dropped off. Yeah,
Oh, that's
she's
rude.
booted. How rude is that?
That is kind of rude, actually. Yeah. So Slava Nazi.
Spread for the ham.
Smid for a hand. And I will quickly just tell you then about what's coming up because
Slava Nazi.
normally she has it. Oh, there we go.
Sorry.
It's all right, babe. So what we have is well, it's going to be 5 p.m. my time, which is 7 p.m. Ukraine time, which is work it out for your fucking selves. James and Vatnik Soup doing Russia's hybrid warfare later on today. And then we have 7 p.m. Eastern time, which is midnight my time, and 2 a.m. Kiev. Ukraine today with our lovely Alan, and then myself and Firefella are back tomorrow. Now, tomorrow being Wednesday, we have an extended session tomorrow, so we will have William and Iwana carrying on from us afterwards. So there you go. That's what you've got to look forward to in the next 24 hours. You lucky things. And remember, you can always catch up with us on Spotify and YouTube. We're going to be using YouTube a little bit more in the future, so look out for that happening. Go and subscribe, and then you'll be able to, see. And I'm done. Thanks, Prince.
Next time I'll be more careful when I realize I need to run to the bathroom as far as what time it is. Because you were like saying, it's time for me to go to work. And I'm like, no, not yet. And sometimes I lose connection to the point where I look like I'm a speaker, but I'm not a speaker. And anyway, so yeah. Slava Nazi, Smidge Vidaham. All right. She already told you what's coming up next. So I think with that, I'm just going to say squirrel bobochimas and make this into a podcast now.
Papachimus.
Oh, Badgerman.